today. There's Tom. How you doing, my friend? Let's see how you sound this morning.
I'm doing well. Do I sound like I'm doing well?
You sound good, man. People are gonna be fired up. If we are firing, the algorithm will kill us today, and nobody will hear. But if we're firing on all cylinders, people will not know what to do.
They won't. They're like they got to be doing something wrong. Like what are we going to get them on today? What are they
Well,
doing wrong
I
today?
will tell you, I'm already in advance thinking about this. I have some family in town here, and I had to take my hard wires down that are in the house so people don't trip over them. So I'm thinking at some point, what always happens will happen, and but that's bad. That's negative thinking. So
So
I'm not gonna.
well, so so here's what it is, right? Is like you're relying on Wi-Fi, which I consistently warn people about. And
Mhm.
sometimes, look, I mean, it happens, right? Like I've been in situations where I didn't have a choice. I had to rely on Wi-Fi, right? So like it happens. Just when you can avoid it, you should,
Yeah.
right?
Okay, that's
And
fair.
and and usually you can, and usually you do. Sometimes you can't,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that happens. But yeah, you're worried about Murphy and his stupid law, and like I mean that SOB shows up and just messes with everything all the time.
Hmm. I think about that. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? But we shouldn't think like that, should we?
No, I guess not. I mean, I'm a fan of so I hate the term manifesting, right? Like
Yeah.
because I think it is utter bullshit, right? But I do believe that if you ascribe to a theory or a belief, right, that you are more likely to pursue that thing or accomplish that thing, right? If you believe in a goal, if you say a goal out loud, you are more likely to pursue or accomplish that goal. I don't think it's because the universe is responding to you. I think it's a very simple human behavior mechanism that if you say something over and over again, then the decisions you make, right, will be end up being in service of that thing, right? So like,
I want to look up the definition of manifesting.
okay, go for it,
Yeah.
because maybe I'm wrong. Like maybe I have the wrong definition in my head, and I can eat those words. So who knows? Maybe that's what I'll have for breakfast today. But
Uh,
um but but yeah, I like, so I talk about, and I made a video yesterday that I posted, right, where I said I ended the video by saying let's change the world, right? Do I think that by saying that I'm putting it out into the universe and the universe is going to respond? No, what I'm doing is I am reasserting and reaffirming my belief that through legendeering and getting people to subscribe to, buy into, and practice legendeering, we can change the world of business. We can collectively cause change and action, right? And so what I'm doing is I'm reasserting that belief. I'm saying that belief out loud, because the more you hear something, the more likely you are to act on it, right? It's not because I believe, it's not magical thinking, right? Which is my problem with like manifesting, is that and again, maybe I'm wrong, but my understanding of it is that it's broadly magical thinking. And I kind of think magical thinking is a giant steaming pile of BS, right?
I'm
But
reading it. I'm reading it here, and you're not so far off from
okay.
what does to manifest mean? To manifest something means to think about it often and with focus until you receive it. So really, to your point, like, and I mean, maybe it happens, and I don't know, but like, my thing, like to your point, is thinking. Great. What about doing? Do something. Move forward. Talk about changing business. Change business in the way you deal with your customers. Tell one more person about it, and okay, maybe the next person, when they're doing a deal, thinks about legendeering, thinks about treating people with kindness, not as a transaction. That's what you say, transactionally a lot.
Right.
So,
Right.
Makes
Yeah,
you,
no, I mean, it's 100% right. At the end of the day, if you talk about something publicly, right, and loudly, it is much more likely to happen, and that's not magic, right? That's influencing your own and other people's decision making by shaping the world through speech, right? That's what it is. It's not magic. Manifesting is not magic, right? What you're doing is influencing behavior by talking about something. It's that
yeah,
simple.
100%, man. Swifty, hey man, thanks for stopping by. We're getting started here today. We weren't saying. I don't know if he actually said bullshit, but he might have said bullshit. The
I
thought
think I
of
did. I think I
okay,
did.
yeah, it's all right. Said the thought of manifesting, where people often think whether they can or can't that they I want Brian to show up. 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 That maybe Brian will show up without any action. I think I might have pinged Brian. Is there? What do you think about that, Brian? And how you been, my man?
Doing well, thank you, gentlemen. Thoughts without action are are just dreams.
Uh,
You need action. Like they say, people create their own luck. Well, no, it's their actions that created their luck. It's that simple, and it's not. I'm just. You can call it luck. You could call it whatever, but it's their actions. You could want something as much as you want it, but if you don't do something, it's just an empty thought. So um, I think there's nothing wrong with those positive beliefs and positive wants or desires, but that's is I've said to my kids, "How's it feel to want?" You have to do something. So that's so key.
Right on, Mr. Swift. Hey, Kathy, Simon, what's up? We're talking about sometimes people talk about manifesting things and and manifest without actions. I think everybody in this room, I know Kathy, I know Simon. Simon goes across country. Kathy rides a bike across Africa. Everybody in this room puts in the action, So that's what we were talking about. We were also talking about these early on. We were talking about these people that measure things tit for tat. Tom, you were mentioning like, uh, I'm not going to do this for this person, or I'm not going to put good out into the world, or I'm not going to do this unless I'm guaranteed to get it back. And I saw Simon actually posted, I was reading his threads, and he was like, if you're following me just to get a follow back, it's not going to happen because I'm trying to build relationships here. I might follow you back and we might have this great relationship. Otherwise, but it's not just going to be always tit for tat. So, Tom, what do you think, my man?
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, I I was just thinking toward the end of what Brian was saying. The phrase or the old adage, which is definitely a bit crass, but I'll say it anyway, because we're not worried about language here on our show, right? But it reminded me of that old saying, like you can wish in one hand and shit in the other, and see which one fills up first, right? Was that idea that like words or thoughts without action are eh, whatever, right? Like you're never gonna kind of get anything out of it. Um, but yeah, I agree. If you want to build relationships, if you want to build a community, that's much more important, and involves a lot more than just a like for a like, right? A tit for tat, a transactional relationship, right? Transactions, there's this term transactional relationship. Like at the end of the day, transactions aren't relationships, right? So I think relationships are built on an exchange of value, and that value can take all kinds of different forms, but it's typically not measured in monetary value, and transactions are typically measured in monetary value, right? um, or intrinsic value. So or extrinsic value, I should say. So anyway, yeah, I don't know. I just think that there's, if you're in playing the game of follow for follow, or tit for tat, or did I sell a book on, like I went on this podcast, how many books did I sell? Right, was something we were just talking about before we started the live today, right? Was I went on this podcast, how many books did I sell from my appearance on this podcast, right? If you're looking at things that way, you're looking at them the wrong way, right? Because it's not about how many books did you sell today, right? It's about what relationships did you start today, and how are those relationships going to evolve over time, right? Like, it's the idea of, in networking, right? I'm a member of several networking groups, and one of the things that we talk about in networking, all the time, and when you like kind of dig into networking education, is that you should never go into a space, right, looking to make a deal, right? You should always go into a networking space looking to build a relationship, because the relationship over time is going to be much more valuable than any one single deal could be in the moment, right? So that relationship on that podcast, the relationship you build with the person who interviewed you, with their audience and their community, right? Like, those relationships are much more valuable over time than any one sale could ever possibly hope to be. So yeah, so I think people just, they just get it wrong. And there's this whole idea of like, and it goes to this, this notion that like what gets measured gets managed, right? That everything has to go into a spreadsheet, everything has to be reduced to a numerical value, right? And is that numerical value trending up or trending down? And that's the deciding factor for everything, right? And it's reductionary thinking. It oversimplifies things, it removes nuance, and ultimately it ends up with, a lot of really difficult situations that we're facing now in sort of Western capitalism, as a result, right? So uh, I could go on this topic for days. It feels like I've just been listening to podcasts about McKinsey and all kinds of stuff that I'm a little annoyed about this sort of like late stage capitalism approach to the world that we're seeing right now. But anyway, I'll throw it back to you, Dom, before I go too far down this rabbit hole.
Okay, don't go down the rabbit hole. We don't mind rabbit holes, though. All right, not the smartest guys in the room. Up in the link, you'll see a link where you can pre-order Tom's new book, Legendeering.
I did it. Did you buy one, Dom?
No, not yet. Look how lame I am.
Look at we got Chris Anderson here too. This is awesome. Like, I'm inviting people. Sorry to interrupt. I don't mean to interrupt.
No, you're good, and the call out is good. Hey, so we'll talk about that, but we're talking about people we're talking about building community. We're talking about transactional relationship, people that sometimes think, well, somebody owes me this and I'm not going to do this for them until they do this. I wanted to mention, when you're talking about like these podcasts and things, one of my authors has a small podcast. His uncle is a producer in Hollywood. So I wonder if this podcaster's uncle ever listens to the stories on the show. I know he does. And I know he calls them and says, whoa, that's a cool story and stuff like that. So all of a sudden people go on the show and they tell their story and they might be thinking, oh, he's got 100 viewers. He has 50 viewers. That one might be the one that changes your life. I did a book signing one time at, I like to do events. So it was at a consignment shop. It was like a spring or fall or something like that, a consignment shop where I sold my books from time to time, and I just put them on the shelves there, and they put like a picture frame on my picture, that kind of stuff. So I go to like their vendor craft show. I meet somebody at the vendor craft show. We start building a relationship, as Tom says. They message me after, we go back and forth. A couple months later, it turns out they worked for Carnegie Mellon. They connected me with Carnegie Mellon, and Carnegie Mellon paid me more than I had ever been paid to speak, to come in for, I think I did an hour and a half. And they simulcasted me to their Silicon Valley campus while I was speaking there. all from a book signing or a networking event, whatever you would call this open house at the consignment shop. But I didn't go to the consignment shop that day thinking, if I don't sell 20 books, it's a bust. If I don't sell 10 books, it's a bust. I went there, to meet people, and who knows what will come of it. So, Simon, I was reading your threads, and you kind of brought this subject up as well about it's not always going to be tit for tat. You're trying to build relationships. So if you would like, weigh in, my friend. And thanks everybody for being here. Let's do this.
Well, afternoon, Dom and Tom, and everybody else in the room. Hardly see this place anymore. Hardly see anything on this place anymore. But I'm sure that's a whole other story. I forget, Dominic, that you sometimes, or I forget about people on here being on threads as well, and then bringing it up. Oh, I saw that the other day, Simon, and yeah, this trend on social media. It's interesting, isn't it, about how some people are so transfixed on the numbers and the vanity metrics, and I think it was a comment I'd seen from, I call them influencers, because they're like the lurgy. They just keep popping around, and their wisdom is everything, and what they say is everything, and people follow these people. People actually sit there and they do it. There's this thing you might have seen, Dominic, on threads at the moment, dear algorithm, and then you put a huge list of things, and I just laugh at it. I'm like, dear algorithm, can you are you an actual human being? Can you listen? Have you got ears? I giggle at these things because it's these trends and things like that. So this person was like, I hate these. I mean, and hate for me is like, oh gosh, I hate these people who don't follow so many people, and you must follow everybody. And if you follow, you must follow people back because it's arrogant not to do so. So I push back, and I don't really push back on them, but I go and create a post, and I'm like, well, I'm not here to follow the masses. My brain is, I manage mental illness, and to have thousands of people down my feed is not healthy. Not that, by the way, not that I or anybody is required to explain our strategy or how we run our social media. But I'm like, listen, I'm here to build more than surface level conversations, more than so to the point where when you post Dominic, I'm like, well, I know Dominic off Clubhouse. I know a little bit about him. If I see Tom and he's got a new book, I'm like, well, I know a little bit about Tom. I want them, where I know that you've got a dog, where I know that you've been on vacation recently, but that I know what your job is. I'm not here to say, oh, I've got all of these people and that people, and the people who follow 5,000 people on Twitter, X, or anywhere, to gain about 200 people. If that's their strategy, then my suggestion, you'd go and see a therapist, because I used to do that. I'd be like, oh, if I follow all these people, maybe they'll love me. Maybe they'll think I'm amazing. Maybe they'll think I'm really cool. And they don't, because, the other thing being on threads at the moment, boosting and follow for follow. I look at them, and they've got like 15,000 followers. You go down their whole thing, and it's follow, 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 follow. So I called one out, and I said, what does that do for you? What does it actually do for you? And then I got called miserable and a troll for asking these things. But genuinely, I want to know what 15,000 people who followed each other who don't engage. That's not engagement, is it? It's not engagement to follow somebody and then say nothing. For me, engagement is mutual. Engagement is, and I'm not saying that you like mine, Dominic, so I deliberately then go and find yours to find you. What I'm saying is, if you find something interesting with me, you'll comment. I don't have to ask you. I don't have to say, please. I say, people, please follow me on my threads. Please comment. Please come and comment. Well, if you're creating decent enough content, then that will be a choice, won't it? I don't want to push people to do that. And if I'm scrolling up and down and I see something interesting, I'm going to want to do it. So maybe instead of focusing on these numbers, people might want to actually create something where people are going to stop. And instead of doing these trends, like I said, trends, quoting, doing these quotations with a black and white picture. It's another thing that's going on threads, and dear algorithm, this, that, and I'm like, the other thing is, when people do that, the algorithm picks it up and it starts to downgrade because it realizes what you're doing. So I'm like, actually, you're not helping yourself. What will help yourself is to be unique. Stay in your own lane, be unique, create your own content about what you actually do. Don't follow these crowds, don't follow the trends. And then it may happen. So I'm going to call it out all the time. So I'm not a fan of that. However, listen, if that's what they want to do and that brings them whatever it is they are looking for, because I think they're looking for something, then that's cool. Who am I? But I don't follow that many people. And people can make as many shitty comments and they can say whatever they like because I know why I'm doing it. It works for me. And I've been the other side of seeing an absolute, 10,000 people on your feed. Doesn't work. It's not cool. Not helpful. Rant over. Thank you.
Simon, man, appreciate you, and I'm watching what you're doing. So just being you, I see the days when you kind of say, "Hey, everybody, I'm taking a break, and I don't care what you think." So I'm always a fan of people that just do their thing, like you're saying. You don't need to do the same panel that everybody else is doing or whatever. I hope, and for my own self, I hope you wonder, hey, why has this guy's got so many different things on here? Or why is he so odd? Well, that's who I want to be, and that's how it's gonna be. There you go. That's a quote. I do wish they still had that thing on this app where you could like replay the last 30 seconds. They took that off. Come on, that was cool. You could share it other places. I don't get it. All right, Julie Loken, talk to us about building community. How are you doing it? And this is one that Tom brought up. Before I was watching Tom's videos. I must spend a lot of time on social media. I'm watching Simon, watching Julie's videos, watching Brian, but Tom brought up this subject of imposter syndrome the other day, and I wanted to go over that talk about that. So, Julie, weigh in. Go on.
Well, first of all, I'm an imposter. I just want to let you know. Second of all, I think building community is amazing because not only when you do this, even on Clubhouse, I mean, yesterday I got to meet our boy Kevin Donaldson in real life, like real flesh and blood. And like I could pinch him if I wanted to. But it is about like carrying through with these relationships. People can walk the walk, talk the talk. Sorry. People can talk the talk, but are they walking the walk? I think people just are, so many people are transactional. I just want to do this for me, do this for me. But I just want to use, like, for example, Dominic, like Kevin and Chris here. I introduced them like well over a year and a half ago. They've met in person. They're collaborating on just an amazing project. Um, and it is about like follow through. People just don't follow through or care. They're just caring about like, are they using that like mindset that of scarcity? Like, I got to do this to make money. I got to do this to make followers. Are they doing it for the long-term gain of building these amazing relationships? So I would love for Kevin and Chris to talk about it because it's incredible when I think about it. And I just want to say hello to everybody. Hi, Prof T. Hi, Simon. Hi, Dr. Tachi. Johnny Pica, Carrie, everybody amazing.
Thank you, Julie. You're the best. Let's keep rolling around, and we'll get to our friends Kevin and Chris. First, we are rolling. We are rolling to Prof T, who often said, I wrote it down here when we talked about social media. She said, "Control it, don't let it control you," and that's how she ran things. So, Prof T, go on, my friend.
Good morning, everybody. How are you? Prof T from Philly, where it's a little chilly, but it's going to be beautiful today. I'm so glad my friend Julie was over here in Jersey meeting Kevin Donaldson, two of my favorite people. Unfortunately, I did not get to Jersey, but I love this topic. It's been a minute. Couldn't find this room. Having so much trouble. Thank you, Julie, for plugging me in here. Appreciate that. Love social
Hey,
media.
I'm gonna interrupt here because one, I'm rude, but then since you bring it up, Prof T, if anybody would be so gracious as to share the room today, we would appreciate that. Hit that little envelope down there. I don't know. Algorithms are constantly changing. So today, let's beat those algorithms. So go on, Prof T. Appreciate you bringing that up. And me and Tom, we had some great conversation in here. We were by ourselves for the first 20 minutes. I've been in rooms a lot of times by myself. Like, hey, that's life. And me and Tom had a great conversation even when we were by ourselves. But we appreciate each of you being here too. Go on, Prof T.
Thanks. Great. So yeah, what I was going to say was community is so important. Whether it's a virtual community, I personally prefer in person. That really has been, for me, going from click and order now back to brick and mortar is my jam. I love being with people. I've been out meeting with some really cool people for collaborating on some business projects. And it's really changed. What has changed for me? Just networking, getting back into the face to face networking groove with people, and just surrounding myself with QPO. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of QPO, quality people only. So, people that are going to align with my inner core values and align with my um, journey. So, I love being around people. And I love this room too because of the QPOs and because I learned stuff in this room. You know, when these rooms end, even though I haven't been around because I couldn't find it, I gained a lot of knowledge and joy on these Wednesdays. So props to the folks in this room. And I do want to say that I don't worry about followers because I'm finding out I get a lot of people. Hey, if you hire me, I can get you a lot of followers and I can get you a lot of this and a lot of that. And I guess it comes with a price. But I don't need to do that because I have my community here in Philly and I'm doing just fine. Thank you guys. I love you all. Back to you, sir.
Thanks, Prof T. Appreciate it. And there's so many people out there that are buying followers and buying likes and comments, and it's so obvious. You can go, like my son, he used to love to do this. We have some friends that are into this kind of thing, and we can go on and he would like look and he'd be like, oh look, she's got the same as him, she's got the same as him, their 15 straight followers are the same, and they've never commented, they've never posted, never liked anybody else's content. I mean, it is just it's a losing game. And it's always, you'll see any of these people and go to anybody you see that has a million, 1,200,000, 100,000, 60, whatever their numbers are. If you see an odd number, let's see, if you see the 10s, the 20s, the 100s, the 50s, the millions, you can go right to that and really look at it and see the next number is probably what is authentic. And that first number, just take off that first number and you could go right in there and see, like Kim Kardashian, if she's at 110 million, she's really probably at 10 million compared to the 100. So, and really you could dig into that on anybody you think's buying them. Come back to me next week and we'll have that conversation. Do some research and you'll see it. So, Tom, we haven't heard from you for a while. I talked too much. So we just heard from Prof T. Go on, my man.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, like, in terms of the buying followers, I mean, you know how I don't even really like the term followers, because at the end of the day, what you want are people who are engaged with you, who care about what you're doing, who believe in the same things you believe in, who share your values, and who share, like I was talking about in that video that you mentioned earlier about imposter syndrome, people who have a shared vision, right, of the future that you want to help create and see in the world, right, and realize in the world. Like, that's who you want around you. And those people aren't followers. They're active participants, right? They're a community. They're community members, right? You don't want people just following blindly behind you going, whatever he said, right? Like I want people, because I know that I can't have the impact on the world that I hope to have by myself, right? Like, it's impossible for me to do that, right? It's impossible for me to humanize the world of business on my own. I can't. I need help. And the only way I'm going to get help is if I talk about it and offer up that shared vision and create a pathway for people to join me in creating that change, right? And so that's what I'm trying to do, and that's the big difference, right? Like, you can buy followers, right? Like, I get those messages all the time too, and I could easily go buy followers, right? But it's not going to help me accomplish anything, right? It's a total vanity metric, right? All it's going to do is maybe make me feel a little bit better about, myself, or, when I talk to other people about like, oh, my following on Instagram or whatever, right? Like it's an ego thing, and that's it. That's all it serves. It's just appealing to sort of your base ego. And it's useless in the broad scheme of things for actually accomplishing anything meaningful. So yeah, I get those messages all the time. I definitely have like bots that are following me on social media, guaranteed. And I don't even have a big following, right? Like I don't have a lot of people in my community on social media. I have a good community. I have an engaged community. I posted about, you mentioned earlier on Monday, the pre-order for my book went live, right? I posted about it. I've got tons of engagement, right? Like from people I know on social media, engaging with those posts, sharing the link to the book, right? And telling me, Julie's a perfect example, telling me that they pre-ordered the book, right? Like commenting on my link, talking about how excited they are for me, right? And about this book coming out. Like that's what's important to me. That's where I see value. I don't see value in an arbitrary number at the top of my profile, right? I see value in the people I know that interact with the things that I share, right? And the mere fact that you brought up the video I posted yesterday about imposter syndrome says to me that I should keep doing things like that, right? Because obviously it was memorable enough, sticky enough, and meaningful enough that you wanted to talk about it with me today, right? So you're not the only person that feels that way, likely based on seeing that video. And so it says to me, like, you're on a good track with that kind of stuff. Like, that's what's important to me, right? Not this arbitrary vanity metric at the top of the page. It's like, it's the equivalent of like bragging about, the number on your scale, even if you can't climb a flight of stairs without being out of breath, right? Like that number means nothing if it doesn't actually translate into an improved quality of life for you, right? So like same. That number means nothing unless it actually translates into something real and tangible in the world. So that's what I think. Was that
Spot
enough?
on, brother. Yeah, man, you're killing it. Everybody's killing it today. I'm glad to be back. You are each making me smile, making me happy. I'm taking some notes. Not the smartest guys in the room. We do this every Wednesday. So anybody who asks, we do this every Wednesday, 9:30. Look for that little microphone that on the side when you're scrolling. We're going to be live there. You just got to keep on scrolling, and you'll find it somewhere. We're live. Yeah. All right, Kevin. Kevin, man, weigh in on building community, imposter syndrome, one half of the dynamic duo. How you doing, brother?
I'm good. How you doing, Dom?
Good, man.
Well, that's really what the goal of most podcasters is to build a community, build like-minded individuals, to open people's eyes, to give them new perspectives. I've met a lot of my listeners in person. I always try to engage with them. When they send me emails, they know they're always going to get a response from me. Unfortunately, there's some times when you respond to certain people and they think they have it can be overwhelming sometimes. I don't want to say anything bad about it, but there are some people out there that, for whatever reason, they won't stop. You've got a life to live. But that being said, is the people who do engage with me are very, very genuine. They're very grateful people, and you know what? They're looking for a little bit of help, and when you give them that help, in turn, that gives you something back. That's the community that I've tried to build through whatever I do in my life. But that being said, you try to cast this wide net, right? You try to throw this wide net out in the water in hopes of catching that one fish. And when you catch that one fish, you see the value in it where, yeah, it was a lot of work to catch that one fish, but the value of that one fish really does change your life and realigns you with your ultimate goals. So that's pretty much all I got to say, because that building community is what it's all about.
Kevin, man, that hits home, and I want to just touch on that for every storyteller, every author, every podcaster. Like as an author, as a publisher of books, the best thing that happens over and over and over with the new authors and stuff is people will come up to that author and say, I read your book. I read about, like Tom, about his post about imposter syndrome. People that you didn't even know are watching, and you're impacting them. So, and you'll, like, I remember it back in Twitter, or like when I was first starting out, I always, before I wrote books and stuff, I would just share stuff on social media and trying to share inspirational content every day. And all of a sudden, it has happened a lot over the years, but I remember the one day, a buddy of mine who, a lot of times he's a jerk. And I didn't post one day like some inspirational content, and we were at like a shared birthday party, like the little kid's birthday party. And he said, "Hey, Dom, you didn't post anything today. I was looking for it." And I'm like, of all people, this guy was actually looking for that kind of content. And to each of you, you just keep putting out that you are making an impact. It's not when you change that one life, right? And then you create that ripple, and it just keeps on going. So, Kevin, well said. Anything you want to add to that before I don't want to steal your thunder?
No, that's. I'm glad you picked it up because I was out of words.
Okay, we keep on. Let's see, Dr. Tachi, what's up with the friend? Welcome back. We missed Dr. Tachi for a couple weeks. Last week she was back. We threw a party. Well, we needed those little like hats on because we were so happy. So, Dr. Tachi, what's going on? We're talking building community. What else? We're talking about imposter syndrome, but it's just nice to see you. Go on.
If you throw a party, I missed the cake. I need run me my piece of cake from last week. But thank you for.
I'm going to get your address and send you a piece of cake.
Yay! Okay, thank you. Anyway, thank you so much for the warm welcome back, and Tom, congratulations. I already don't have to say that you are awesome. So fantastic job, bravo! I can't wait for everything that's to come, and I can't wait to have you on the show to talk about this. So, in terms of everybody is fun. I don't know if I really have anything to add that's so profound. Everybody is spot on. I mean, I know Simon touched on this when it comes to followers. You don't really need to have a whole battalion of followers to make an impact. That's the whole reason that the concept of quote micro and nano influencers exists now. That if you are maybe if you are looking to actually monetize from it, maybe it is helpful to more followers than not. But again, that's where nano and micro influencers come in. That I think what nano was less than 5,000, something to that extent. So you really don't have to have that many to make an impact, and companies realize that that is the case. So even if you're not looking to monetize and you're doing social media for fun or for just whatever, you still can have impact with what you say, even if you have just a few hundred followers. If those few hundred followers are engaged and they're talking back to you, it's still worth it. And here's my thing: I don't have like hundreds of thousands of followers across all of my social media, but when I say something, people listen and they talk back, and there is an impact. And I know immediately because in the comments they say this was needed. There's an impact for that because I'm giving value. So the fact is that there could be somebody that has 1 million followers that doesn't have the amount of impact I have because they don't get the feedback, or they don't pay attention to the feedback, or people forget they're even following them. And that's not what I want. If you are in my tribe, or if you are in my stratosphere, I want you to feel free to speak back and to get impact from what I do. That's really what I want. There was one other thing so sometimes, just to Dominick's point, you don't people are watching and you don't even know. Case in point, I already told you all I watch an awful lot of YouTube because I love it so much. Now I'm subscribed to I think I'm subscribed to hundreds of creators at this point. Do I make comments on all of their videos? No. In fact, most of them I don't. It's only the ones that I actually probably know kind of in person that I will make a comment on. But it doesn't mean that they're not impacting me. It doesn't mean that I won't see a product and say, you know what, maybe I'll try that. Or that was great advice. I'm still enjoying them, but I'm not necessarily making a comment. So, just to your point, Dom, the fact that that individual missed what you were doing, that means they notice you. And so people are watching even if they don't say they're watching. I release the mic.
Well said. I'll say the name. I had an author, Neptali Martinez. He's a professor at NYU, and he wrote a book called Coachability. And he told me one time that, and he's been a professor for years, and he told me one of a prospect of his, just somebody he knew, hadn't commented on any of his social stuff or anything like that. They reached out to him. They said, "Oh, I see you wrote a book." And they said, "I want to hire you for coaching." They had never liked or commented on anything, but his content was getting out to the person. And then when they were ready, they reached out. So this gentleman was, this was early on in his, he wrote book and he is building brand now. So he, trying to supplement his, professorship with coaching and things like that. And he is completely comfortable with the journey he's on and seeing that social, it isn't a tit for tat thing. You might put out things and people are seeing, but when he got that call from that one person that said, not only did I see all the stuff that I want to become your client, he was like, wow, this really does work. And to Dr. Tachi's point, people are watching. Hey, Julie Loken, I want to point this out. Julie Logan asked me if I bought Tom's book. Now I bought Tom's book. So if you saw me looking that way, I was buying Tom's book. I see a picture of Tom right here. It says I can follow him too. So I'm going to click on this, get new release updates and improved recommendation. I am now following Tom on Amazon too. Go on.
Thanks, Dom. I just wanted to say, first of all, thanks so much for your support. It really means a lot to me, and I appreciate it very much. I think, just anecdotally, I'll give you a little bit more support for the argument that you were just making, that people are watching, are listening, are engaging in their own way and learning from and gaining value in their own way from the content you put out, even if you don't see it right away. Right. And that's the reason why you have to be consistent. You kind of have to play the long game with this stuff. If you guys remember, last year, I did a vlog series when I was training for my Ironman last year, right? And so I broke my collarbone, and then I did a vlog, and I started the vlog before I broke my collarbone, and then I broke my collarbone, and everybody was like, "Well, I guess Ironman's over, the vlog's over, right?" And I was like, "No, what are you talking about? It just got interesting. I have to keep going, right?" And so I did. I still, more than a year later, after that vlog series, I mean, it was like, well over 100 videos. But after that vlog series, over a year later, I still go into rooms, right? Go into networking events, go into local events where I live in the Hudson Valley, and have people come up to me who I don't know, who I've never met in person, and ask me about my Ironman training, and ask me about running the marathon that I ran last year as well, and ask me about my collarbone or my shoulder, right? That's the one that often gets mixed up. People go, "Oh, how's your shoulder?" And I'm like, "It was the collarbone. My shoulder's been fine the whole time." But the point is that it happens relatively frequently, right? Not every time I go into a room, but most times I go into a room, somebody who I don't know comes up to me and basically says, "I watch your content. I appreciate it. And I want to now engage with you because I have the opportunity to do so." Right. So, like, if trust me that people are watching, and like, if you look at the metrics on those videos, none of them went quote unquote viral, right? None of them have, 1 million views or even probably 100,000 views. I don't think any of them even have like 10,000 views, right? None of them were like super successful according to the numbers. But over a year later, I still have people coming up to me. So they may not have been super successful according to the numbers, but they were definitely impactful, right? And I think that's much more valuable than whether or not they hit a certain, vanity metric on social media. So keep at it. That consistency will pay off over time, but it's a long game. You have to play the long game, right? What do you think, Dom? I mean, right? It's like, it's true in sales too, right? Like, you got to play the long game.
I probably am I even talk to my wife about this sometimes. Like, I believe in the long game to my own detriment, right? That I will put everything aside. And probably Jolie would say the same thing, or Brian that deals with me more. Like, it's all about, maybe it's the next generation, maybe it's, but if you keep doing what you believe in and moving forward, well, and I think Gary Vee talks a lot about too, like, I know he does, I'm a big fan, enjoying the journey, appreciating the journey. Like, it's whether some people don't like the hustle, but I love what I do. I want to do it more. I want to share smiles with more people. I want to share inspiration with more people. I want more people to be inspired. I want to get Brian's books in more hands. I want to do more events with Julie. I want to be involved in things where people are energized, and feeling good. So if I could just more. So that's my action until I can't do anymore. Right? And then I would feel guilty that I'm not doing more. But
yeah, I mean, like, I very much to that point. I was in a networking group and we were talking about, planning for ways to like sort of grow this group, right? Because there's value in numbers when it comes to networking, right? Networking is all about not just knowing me, but then also who I know, right? Like, you sort of create this spider web of value, right? By being able to connect people through each other's networks. And so we were talking about like growing the network and how to attract new membership, and one of the guys said, we all joined to grow revenue, like to put more money in the bank, right? And I didn't jump in, but the first thing that popped into my head was, no, nope, that's not at all why I'm here, right? Like you were saying, this is what popped into my head when you were saying, to my own detriment, Dom, right? Like that. It's exactly like I'm not even in business for the money, right? Like, money is secondary, maybe even tertiary in some respects, right? Like, in terms of like goals, right? My goals are very different from money. And I believe that if I pursue those goals, right, and I do good work, and I work hard and I accomplish some of those goals, I do believe that money will follow, right? Like, and I agree that money is important, but it is not my primary motivator for just about anything I do, right? Whether that's working with a client, right? Money is not my primary motivator. We were talking about it earlier. I have a shoot later today. It's for a nonprofit client of mine who I love working with, right? Do I make the most money off of them? No. Do they demand a fair amount of my time? Yeah. Am I happy to do it? Yeah, because I believe in them and I believe in their mission, right? So it's not really about the money. But yeah, I'm very much like kind of, my own worst enemy when it comes to that. Like, that my relationship with money is, I believe it'll happen. I believe it'll come. I believe it'll follow the good work. But the good work is the priority, right? Is always the priority, not the money, right? I'm never doing something to put more money in my bank account. I'm always doing it because I believe in what we're doing, right? And I don't know. I think that's important.
I feel you, brother. Let's keep it rolling. Not the smartest guys in the room. Kathy, Billy, Julie. We're going to Kathy, and then we're gonna roll around. We're talking about building community. We didn't dig too deep into imposter syndrome, but we want to talk about that. So, Kathy, weigh in, ask a question. What do you got for us today?
Good morning. Can you come back to me? I'm just getting a little kiddo off to
Yeah,
the bus.
you do you. Yeah, and don't be mad. When we'll come back, flash it a little bit. Okay, Billy Thorpe, my main man. What's going on? Did I see you got hacked the other day or something? Or internet scammed or something, Billy? See, I'm following everybody's stuff. That maybe I am on social media too much because I knew about Simon. I know about Tom's race. I'm seeing all Brian stuff. I know Billy was talking about internet scam or something. Go on, Billy.
Hey, what's up, guys? Yeah, I got scammed. Thanks for bringing that back up. It's opening up that wound and pouring salt in it. Yeah, I was working a deal on some pallet stuff, some product stuff. Thought I did a good job vetting a company, which I've done for 10 years. Yeah, I didn't. I got scammed. It's all right. It happens. So,
Well,
life.
sorry to make you tell that story to 10 more people. So, and who's
Yeah,
ever watching live stream, go on.
it's all right. I put it on the internet. Yeah, it's what I made that decision. So, but it happens to the best of us, you know. It's like you think you got it dialed in, and something crazy happens. So, part of it, but they did a good job. I'll tell you, the scammers did a phenomenal job, and they did all the right stuff. And so, unfortunately, and I will say this though, Wells Fargo and Zelle together. Zelle's a third-party cash transfer app. Do not do that for business deals. They will tell you that they will cover you. They will tell you that because I had all these conversations before I've done stuff like this, but they will not. When the rubber meets the road, they do not have your back. So just go ahead and don't do business transactions that way. It wasn't for a ton of money, just a few $100. So I'm not crying, but it was going to be for like a couple $1,000, and I was like, yeah, let's do a tester run. And luckily, I came out on top if I look at it that way. So it wasn't too bad.
Billy, it's almost like you're cutting a promo for the scammer here, telling them what apps to use and that they did a good job. So, what transaction, if we're taking payments, what should we be using then? Go on if you don't like Zelle.
Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna. I think I'm just gonna use a credit card on everything moving forward. If they don't take credit card, I'm just not gonna do business with them because it's the only form of payment I've seen is like that, or maybe PayPal. But I got to be protected on the business side of it. So it seems like credit cards have a little bit more, leniency or whatever when it comes to that kind of stuff. But it's part of it, man. It's part of business. It's a new part of my business that I'm familiar with vetting vendors and stuff, but not in this industry that I'm messing with. So, it's an investment. I could have lost the money if I'd have bought the product and it would have been bad product anyway. So I was willing to lose the money. I wish I would at least had a chance to make it back, but it is what it is, man. It's a business. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose.
Truth. Okay, weigh in about building community and imposter syndrome then, Billy. Because I get a vibe from Billy. Like, let's say we've been following each other for years, or I've been following Billy for years. I didn't even know if he followed me. But so I get this vibe that this dude is so comfortable in his own skin that it wouldn't matter what anybody said, or that he could probably walk in and talk to the president or some Fortune 500 company tomorrow. So tell us about any battles with that, or what's your thoughts on it, Billy?
Well, man, I do think, first of all, I love the community aspect. I would not be where I'm at if it weren't for other people, like, period. Like, there's no questions. Like, everything I do has been either inspired, motivated by, suggested by someone else. Like, my whole business that I do now was like a suggestion from another content creator on Clubhouse. Like, hey, you should look into this. So my whole world is like built upon relationships and communities and conversations and all that. So I would not be anywhere where I'm at if it weren't for that community aspect. And then, so I think it's huge. I think it's huge to be surrounded by people who are way ahead of you, as far as like what your goals are and whatever that means for you. I mean, I was having this conversation yesterday. Someone's like, "Oh man, like Like you must work so hard and all the time, and all you do is put in all the hours, and because you do so much productivity. I'm like, no, dude. I figured out a business model that works around my schedule. So, like this morning, I got up, took my kid to school. He was having a rough morning, kind of hinted around about it, and he's not really that kid that doesn't want to go to school. And then he got to school and he was just like not having it. I was like, get in the car, dude. Let's go. Like, let's go have a day. I'll push my show back today. I'll push my stream back. I'll push everything back. Like, that's the lifestyle I built. And it's a business built around that lifestyle, not trying to build a business to suit that lifestyle. And so I think Tom said this earlier about like money and like getting more money in your bank account. And that's one thing that if anybody's in this room that's like, what's one thing I should focus on? I would say that I've been on this hyperdrive focus on leveraging finances this year, and my wife and I have paid off over $20,000 in debt, and it's just been amazing. But we got focused on how do we use the money that we have, and how do we use the resources that we have to knock out debt, to build assets, to build retirement funds, to do all those things. So we got hyper focused on it instead of shying away from it and having this really interesting relationship with money and really a bad relationship with money. I've just started studying like how are these super wealthy people doing this? Like I see them on podcasts all day. I see them doing shows and TV shows and all this stuff. I'm like, they're not doing what I'm doing. They're not working, per se. They're not doing the same type of work I'm doing. And so I started digging into that. And so I think that's a part of the community aspect, though. It's like, dude, I would have never done that. But I met somebody here on Clubhouse. Their husband's a financial advisor. They started talking about different banking strategies. I go, that's interesting. I start studying it. I put it into action. And now we're paid off over $20,000 in debt in a few months. Going to knock out the rest of our debt. And then next year, we're going to start on how do we pay our house off in a few years. And be able to leverage that same dollar multiple times. But I learned all that from community. So that's I'm a huge believer in it, man. These conversations change the world, change my world all the time.
Thanks, Billy. Tom is shaking his head. Tom, what do you want to add there?
I mean, honestly, I was just sort of agreeing with Billy. I think, really what popped into my mind was as Billy was saying, like, these guys aren't working the way I'm working, right? When you hear about, when you hear or listen to some very wealthy folks on podcasts and stuff, they're not doing the same kind of work that I'm doing. And you're right. And I think part of that is that we've been sort of fed this myth or this belief, right? And it's one of the reasons why I don't like the grind, right? I don't like the hustle, right? Like I don't like some of that terminology, because we've been fed this myth that if you just work yourself to the bone, you'll get ahead. And the truth is that's not true. Like that is a lie, right? Working harder will not necessarily get you ahead. Improving the quality of the work that you do will, right? And often how that translates into the real world is that you actually end up working less and getting further, right? Because you improve the quality, right, of the work that you do. It has a greater impact on your life. So, shoveling dirt for 14 hours a day until you can barely stand up only means that you're going to end up with a big pile of dirt, right? Like it's not gonna pay down your debt. It's not gonna markedly improve your life. It just means that you've moved a lot of dirt, right? So like improve the quality of your work. Don't worry about the time or the hustle or the number of hours you work. Those are all irrelevant ultimately until to talking about the impact that work has on your life, right? So I'm not saying don't work hard. I'm saying work hard where it counts. Work hard where it has the greatest impact. Don't waste your time working hard for the sake of working hard and then being like, oh, I've been grinding it out for 20 years and I'm exactly where I started. It's like, yeah, because you've been doing the same thing for 20 years, right? Because you were fed a lie and you ate it up with a spoon, right? And just figured if I grind really hard, if I work myself to the bone, I'll get ahead. And the truth is, you won't. And all the people out there espousing that as a philosophy to get ahead in life are liars. Stop listening to those people, right? They're feeding you a lie. They're selling you a lie. Stop listening to them. Work, improve the quality of your work. Don't just work harder, right? Don't work for work's sake. It's silly. It doesn't make any sense.
That's fire, Tom. I remember the first time I learned this. I learned it early, and not in a good way. When I owned my restaurant, I started at 23, and I had seen my dad, who's a landscaper, work 7 days a week, and really provided for my family. And I saw, well, Dad works 7 days a week. So when I had the restaurant, I always worked 7 days a week. Then it was 15 hours a day. Then my restaurant was still going down. So I'm like, well, I can open earlier. I can stay open later. Then I got a job as a basketball referee. Then I got a job delivering newspapers. So I used to go at, there was only so many hours. I mean, it was pretty pointless to be open from like 12 to 5. So from 2 to 4, I used to deliver newspapers, and I got a job delivering 200 during the week, 250 on the weekends, newspapers. And so I'm still trying to work through the problem. Now, the problem was I was underfinanced. I didn't have enough customers at the time. Roads were under construction. What I needed was a new plan or a better plan going in. But at 25, for the first time, I learned that I couldn't just outwork that problem. And I'm all for hard work. So I'm going to tell you, same thing, work your ass off, but know that you need the plan. You need the mentors. You need the guidance. You need all these things you need some luck too, but work hard. And know those other things. All right, we're going to Jason, Kathy. We're talking imposter syndrome, hard work. Go on, Jason. What do you got for us?
Well, you guys have said a lot, and one thing I will say is like, what is the qualities in which you want to experience and enjoy your life? I can't counter Tom and say don't work frivolously for no reason. Don't put so much work into something where you don't move the needle ahead. What your work should be revealing to you is the way in which you deliberate in making your decisions that craft you into a good living experience. Like the Stoic question today was, what are my tasks in my life? What am I responsible for? I'm responsible for my children right now. I'm also responsible for my partner and running a business. Those are my responsibilities, but where's my equity? Responsibility would be like a deficit if you really think about it, but it also is an asset. It's a building asset in your mindset. If you work hard to build the discipline, the callousness, so that things don't seem like they're impossible, that's one thing, but when you learn to discern where your best energy is spent, where the fulfillment is, we're in a world right now where being fulfilled is like a pipe dream. Being satisfied is discouraged. And I'm just the opposite. I'm like, I work to the end of my day to be satisfied with it. I constantly check in with myself. I look at what is in my narrow focus and my ability. And if it's not there, work on the things that make it better. Now, it doesn't mean I'm not going to struggle. It doesn't mean that I don't need to go through obstacles. Yes, of course. But it's while you're learning through the obstacles, just like I take jujitsu, right? And it took me 2 years to get my blue belt, and I worked hard. I worked very hard for it. And sometimes it didn't make sense. Like, why is it taking me so hard to do 2 years into getting a blue belt? And what is that? Compared to other martial arts that I've taken where I got a belt like every year. You know, it was the discipline of understanding my ability and enjoying the experience and being patient with myself. Because if you're not doing that, it's like it's like you read from books and take it and make it and mold it for an experience that can work. Like if I told you and I told the rest of America, your number one job right now should be saving and not spending 10% of your income for 1 year and see what you come out with. You can't touch it. You can't. And you know what? People make all the reasons why they shouldn't. Or sounds like a good idea. It's what does it teach you to keep a living practice for your best experience? Look at your best living experience. Are you happy with it? If you're not, start focusing on the experience. That's all I got to say.
Jason, man, love it, love it. And I'm in this world with you, man, of just appreciating the moment. If I could, and I talk about my dad a lot, but here I saw this guy 40, 50 years now working that loves these trees so much. When he's out, he has a nursery, loves them. He would come home and like walk through the woods and like we called it like petting the trees. He loved it so much, you know. And if you could be passionate about what you're doing, love it, and then to like you mentioned family, Billy mentioned family. What if you could be a super dad, great spouse, give back to your community, all those things? Would that be more rewarding than some number? And maybe this number, and more power to anybody that's shooting for a number. Like we used to talk about like Webster's definition of success. Webster's definition of success is the aim of a desired. It's the aim of a desired, something like that, desired achievement. Like, so whatever you want to achieve, it is success. It doesn't say like what Jason wants or what Kathy wants. It's what you want. So Tom's and mine and Brian's, it could all be different, and there's nothing wrong with that. And that's what we need to see. Hey, Kathy, you back around? Let's hear from Kathy.
Yes, I just dropped her off at the bus. Thank you.
Perfect
I'm
timing.
back. Perfect timing. I have good news to share. Can I share good news?
We like good news. We'll
Yeah.
celebrate you too.
So
Bring it on.
last time I spoke about community, and I was concerned about, what makes a good community, and loved the feedback I heard. So I held on to the feedback. And this month, the month of October, is, as you can see from my profile, I do a lot of work in neurodiversity. This month is a month for ADHD awareness. And I've been running these free workshops, no attachment, no nothing. I'm just showing up once a week, and I'm holding space, and I'm coaching, and I'm teaching. I'm not holding anything back. I'm just giving. And through that, um, uh, two people signed up for a new program that I've developed for leadership training and how to support those with ADHD in the workplace. And I had no idea this would happen. I had no expectations. And both of them came and said, "We like what you're doing. We want to be a part of what you're doing. What are you selling? Where do we sign up?" Because I also didn't tell them what I do in sort of terms of offerings. So talk about community, talk about small community. And each week they keep showing up to the point that I'm like, well, shit, do I keep this going? Because some of them, and also I want to make it accessible. I want to give back to the community. Not everybody can afford coaching. Not everybody can afford, you know, um, the other stuff. So it's been an interesting journey, and I just wanted to share that. And a lot of it's also just the mindset that goes into it, of just go in with no expectations and trust the process, and whatever happens happens, and if it doesn't, that's okay too. So thank you for that nugget of community last time. It meant a lot. I showed up energetically different, so just wanted to share that.
Yeah, Kathy, love that. And that final thing she said there really hit to me right. Like she showed up differently. And even me, to hear, to you, to anybody, what if I quit worrying about everybody else? We are all who we are for some reason. I can't judge this person because I don't know. I can't judge this person because I don't know. Maybe they're doing their best with what they have right now. So for me I just got to show up my best. Go on, Tom, and then we're gonna hit Brian P. Swift up about imposter syndrome too. Go on,
Well,
Tom.
I think I just wanted to say like that last thing that you just said really kind of hits home that point that like belief shapes behavior, right? That like if you believe in community, you act differently when it comes to community, right? That your beliefs, the things that you hold dear that are important to you, shape the way you behave in the world, and that is how you is one of the ways that your beliefs affect change in your life, right? Because belief shapes behavior, right, which impacts the real world in your everyday life. um but yeah, so you brought this up at the very beginning this morning, right? And even in your post, I think, about what we were going to talk about today, you talked about imposter syndrome because apparently the video that I posted yesterday resonated, and kind of made you want to talk about
Yeah,
this, right?
and Tom, and this is something each week, a lot of over the course of the years we've been doing this, we hear it, and so go on, man. Let's speak to it.
Yeah, I mean, so like, the beginning if you guys haven't seen that video, it was basically like, at the beginning it was just a quick little couple of minutes, but essentially what it boiled down to was, on Monday, I got the news, the really exciting, good, happy news that my book was available for pre-order, right? That my book had officially gone on sale to the public, right? 2 years in the making, a lot of work, a lot of, time and effort and energy um, goes into creating a book, and I know a bunch of you in the room appreciate this. And to get that news that it was available for pre-order anywhere books are sold, right? To be able to say that out loud was amazing. And then almost immediately, right away, I got hit with this like huge wave of feeling like an imposter, right? Like, and what I said at the beginning of the video was nothing brings imposter syndrome into sharp focus like finding out your book is for sale to the public, right? And I thought about this. I thought about this for like, a lot over the course of like 24 hours, and came to the realization that I had no reason to feel like an imposter because the book isn't about me, right? The fact that the book is for sale isn't about me. My name is on the cover as the author, right? The book is a is was written by me, right? So like in some ways I'm the sort of face of the book, right? I'm the face of legendeering, but ultimately it's not about me, right? The book is a testament to and a culmination of the hard work put in by myself and all the people around me, right? Everyone from the editors and the folks on my at my publisher, and my wife and my parents and my friends, right? And all the people that gave me feedback along the way, the people I interviewed, through the course of writing the book that are quoted in the book, all of those folks, like it's a testament to all of like everyone involved. It's not about me, and ultimately it's about creating an opportunity and a vehicle and a pathway for people with a shared vision to accomplish a goal, right? Or pursue a goal or a dream, right? So, and that, that vision is to humanize the world of business, right? To teach businesses and the communities that they serve how to communicate better so they can develop real relationships. So I realized that there was no reason for me to feel like an imposter because really the book is not mine alone, right? The book is not my achievement. And ultimately it's not really even about me, right? It's about this shared vision and these values that I am not the only person that holds, and I am not the only reason that it exists in the world. In fact, if my publisher hadn't approached me about writing this book, it would not exist in the world right now, right? So like it really isn't about me. So I could play imposter syndrome and make it about me, but ultimately I'd be wrong because it's not. And I think that's the place where we kind of fall into that trap with imposter syndrome is sometimes it's hard to accept a compliment. I'm not always good at it, right? I was in a meeting with a couple of colleagues yesterday. We're working on creating a new business, and one of my colleagues several times talked about how impressed she is with me, right? And I'm not the best at accepting compliments, right? I tend to downplay them. I tend to be self-deprecating in the face of compliments. And it's hard. It's something that's hard for me to do. It makes me feel like an imposter. But at the end of the day, what she's saying isn't really about me. It's about her, right? And when you kind of fall victim to imposter syndrome, really what you're doing is making it all about you. And ultimately, it's not about you. It's about the community you're a part of. It's about what impacts the people who are saying the things that are making you feel like an imposter. But it's not about you, right? So don't make it about you. Don't fall victim to that imposter syndrome, because it's about so much more than just you. I don't know. That's what I think.
It's good wisdom, Tom. Hey, Brian P. Swift, Dr. Tachi, you want to weigh in on overcoming the imposter syndrome, or should nobody ever have it? Go on, Swift.
Well, Tom, I can appreciate your feelings because I've felt that way after writing a book and having it published. And I think that bridge where we feel we start to wonder if we really deserve or should feel good about it comes from this false sense of, if it doesn't sell or people don't like it, does that make me, will I feel, we start to put the value on the sale of the book. And I think it's normal because we want it to be out there. We want people to enjoy it. We want people to get value from it. And when that book comes out, that mode of now almost worrying, will people understand the value that I'm trying to expound on in the book, and will it sell? We question ourselves. I don't know why, but I was that way with several of my books, where it was the joy of it being published, the joy of it being out there, and then the question of, oh my gosh, like, will people think I'm phony? Will people even buy it? Will people understand it? And I'm sure, just from what I know of you, you were genuine through the whole process of writing your book. You didn't write it for yourself in terms of wanting people to pat you on the back. You wrote it to help people. You wrote it to share a philosophy and thoughts that work and help. Same reason I wrote a book. Same reason I think most people write books. And I think, and we've talked about this, being authentic. I think as long as you're authentic, that is a shield against this syndrome out there of being an imposter. And some people, I think, fall prey to trying to be what others think they should be, instead of being authentic. And some people find it very simple and easy to be authentic, um, and not worry about so much what others think they should be or what the world wants them to be, but just, this is who I am. This is my thoughts. This is my philosophy, and I'm okay if some people don't understand it or agree with it. I'm all, the people know me, know I'm authentic. Uh, know that I'm okay to disagree with what other people may think and think of me, but keep writing, keep being authentic, and that feeling I don't think is unusual to have. I think it's a bridge we just got to cross, and get back to realizing the why you wrote the book, what the book's about, and understand you were authentic through the whole process, and that's all that matters. You can't control what other people think, and even to some degree the sale of it. And we at some point we do place that value on the sale of it and what people will think about it, and that's when I think we start to feel less. We start to maybe get that imposter syndrome, and we have to remember how authentic we were through that whole process, and it is not an easy process. I'm complete.
Brian, man, thank you. And Brian's a dear friend of mine, and so we've had talks over this and that. And Brian will say, "I know who I am." So if some people don't like this aspect of it, well, that's that. But I'm comfortable with who I am, and I know putting myself out there like that I might take some slack, but I'm comfortable with that. So it's an honorable thing, man. You know where you stand. So we will continue on. Dr. Tachi, you flashed, and we're going to see if Stephanie had a thought on that because she just came up, and we'll do a quick show and tell, and then Tom's going to wrap us up. So, Dr. Tachi, you want to weigh in on that?
Sure. I think that as difficult as this is, because Tom is such a caring person, that you have to adopt a philosophy of I don't give a damn. Because if you part of the imposter syndrome comes from other people, right? It's obviously it's self, but where does that come from? Obviously, those self concepts come from outside of the self sometimes. So you just really have to, as hard as it may be, you just really have to. If people, there will be critics, and we're not going to be everyone's cup of tea. That's fine, and you may say that what we do is fraudulent. Good for you. I'm glad you've spent time determining my fraud. If you spent that much time on yourself, you'd be a millionaire. So you just really have to adopt that attitude of I don't give a damn, because I know what I know. And often this is what I find, and it's not always the case, but generally the people that feel, should I be here? Am I supposed to be doing this? Are the ones who are actually qualified to do that. Because if you look, there are so many people out there who profess to be an expert in this and an expert in that, and they don't know. But do they care? They don't. They're still cleaning up and racking up money. So if you can learn anything from the charlatans, is that they don't give a damn. So adopt some of that in an effort to try and overcome imposter syndrome. I'm
Hey,
complete.
Dr. Tachi, do you not love Deion Sanders' confidence right now? There's that one quote. He's like, "Do you think your opinion of me has any effect on?" Yeah, it's amazing, man. So,
It's
100%.
really quickly. So with Deion Sanders, this is the interesting thing. He was at I can't remember which HBCU he was at before he went to
I think
Colorado.
it's Jackson State, maybe. Is that what it was?
I
Yeah.
was I think yes, it was Jackson State. So he was at Jackson State. Now there is this thing in many communities, right? Communities of color and communities in general, of really making sure that you give back. And so there was this thing. People were upset when he left Jackson State, because there was this feeling, well, you come home to an HBCU and now you're leaving. You're supposed to stay. So, but then the other end of that is, so is he supposed to stay there forever? So because he's black, is he not supposed to go anyplace else? And he's like, I don't give two damn. So I am leaving. So you have to, that confidence of doing that, and knowing that you are also an important person in the equation, that you've done what you can for that, for that university, and now it's time to move on. Adopt some of that too. So I just wanted to quickly put that in there.
I
Thank you,
wanted to
Dr.
add to
Tachi.
that.
Jason, give us a little bit. Jason, we're going to Stephanie, and Tom's giving us a wrap up. He's got to shoot tonight. So go on, Jason.
Well, also you got to look at what Dion did, and his pushback was, "Did I leave it better than I found it?" That's what you have to think. Like when you look at imposter syndrome, do you leave the situation better than you found it? No matter how you approach things, like say, like you go into a bathroom and you see, say, like paper on the floor, do you just leave it there and keep stepping on it, or do you pick it up? Well, oh, I'll get sick, I'll get dirty. It's like, no, pick up the shit and just throw it away. It just, like if I stay at somebody's house and I'm in the room, I clean it as if I owned it to leave it better than I found it. In imposter syndrome, people, that's what they can't do, is they can't leave the situation better than they found it. They keep chasing the accolade of praise and belief and validity. And I'm like, oh, and this is why I'm kind of like with John Wiley's position of like, I don't like experts. I don't believe in experts most of the time. I only use them when I have to. I just believe in doers. There is a place for experts, but if the expert gets out of being just a doer, then to me, you're just like, dude, you belong in a hall or a college, giving lectures. You don't work with me, but I appreciate it's like looking at older wisdom and younger wisdom, combine the two to be able to make a good decision. So, yeah.
Right on, brother. We appreciate you. Thank you for being here. Thank you, everybody. So we're going to Stephanie, but first, real quick, this is Tommy Maddox bobblehead. Tommy Maddox, this is one of my favorite. He was an XFL. He was an insurance salesman. He was done chasing his dream, but the XFL started and he became the XFL's MVP. This like early 2000s. And then he got a phone call from the Steelers, the way injuries work out, and he had like a 2-year run where he was on the top of the world. So this is my Tommy Gunn bobblehead. Okay, now back to he followed his dreams. That's the point. Stephanie, what do you got for us? And anything you want to weigh in on, have at it.
Okay, so thank you. Hey guys. So what I was thinking is that with imposter syndrome, it's kind of like an emotion. We deal with our emotions and we forget that they're like seasons, like spring, winter, fall, they will pass. And we take too much pride in ourselves. Some of us can, and we hold ourselves to higher standards. And we forget by putting that out there might be somebody that appreciates it just as is. And we're going to have our critics no matter what, though. But, the imposter syndrome will pass. It's just a human emotion, thought process. It comes and goes. And just to acknowledge that and say, hey, I'm feeling this, it's going to pass.
Excellent reminder, Stephanie. We appreciate that, and something that you don't always think about. So let's do this. Tom's got to shoot tonight. I've talked enough, and we appreciate each of you being here. So thanks for hanging out, finding the room when it was harder to find, and we'll be back here next Wednesday. If you make an effort to find the room again, we would really appreciate it. But Tom, do your thing. It's that time.
Yeah, man. Every Wednesday at 9:30 a.m. Right, pretty much, almost without fail. But we always try to let you guys know when we're not going to be here because we have vacations, we travel, work gets in the way sometimes. So we're not, or other work, I should say. Not that we don't take this seriously, but sometimes we're not able to be here. But the vast majority of the time, right, every Wednesday morning, 9:30 a.m. we'll be here. You can find us on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter. I'm going to keep calling it Twitter. I don't care that Elon renamed it X. What a bonehead move that was. Anyway, but yeah, so you can find us all over the internet live streaming, and of course you're on Clubhouse if you want to join in the conversation. So every Wednesday morning at 9:30 a.m. And honestly, I just want to wrap up today by sharing a little gratitude. I'm super grateful to everybody who was involved with the publishing of my book, the writing of my book, supporting me through that process. Everybody who signs up to order a copy of the book, I'm incredibly grateful to everybody that I've had the opportunity to create this thing, and that together we have the opportunity to use this thing that we've created to really change the world in a positive way, right? I genuinely believe that if we force businesses, right, which we have the power to do as consumers, if we force businesses to adopt the communication strategies in legendeering, the world will be a better place for it, right? We will all have better relationships with, better interactions with, and better lives around the businesses we interact with on a daily basis if we just push them in that direction. We have the power to do that. And so together we can, right? And that's what I hope to come out of the book. I hope it continues long after I'm not around anymore. But yeah, it's something I'm incredibly grateful to have had the opportunity to do. So I just wanted to end by saying that thank you thank you to everyone who has played a role in this book coming to life, and hopefully in the work that it will inspire going forward. I think it's going to be a good run. I think we're just getting started. So thanks everybody. Thanks for being here with us as always. And not the smartest guys in the room. Thanks to my fearless co-host Dom and his bobblehead for being with us today. And really appreciate you guys. We'll keep pinging you in. Just come by Clubhouse 9:30 a.m. every Wednesday morning if you want to be the smartest person in the room with Dom and I. So that's all I got for today. Thanks so much. Love you guys. And we will see you again next week. Until then, have a great weekend. Bye.